There are a couple things I have to say before starting this list. First of all, it's an opinionated list. If there's a sword you like that's not on here, do not blame me. This is purely my opinion, although my opinion is backed with a bit of statistics. I'll explain that later. Second of all, I'm not the best Castle Crashers player in the world, so what I say here is not set in stone. No weapon that I choose as my favorite, my personal favorite, is technically the best. In fact, there is no best weapon in the game. You can use the fishing pole and beat the game. Third of all, if you're going to argue that there is a best weapon in the game, you better have some solid proof to back it up, not just, it looks cool. But if you have a favorite weapon just because it looks cool, I don't fault you for that. I think the ice sword is awesome. Finally, I just play this game for fun, not to be pro at it or whatever, so if you are better than me and you have better weapon choices than I have here, I mean, whatever. They're your weapon choices. All I have to ask to you is, why are you looking up a top 3 weapons list if you already know what the best weapon is? Now that all that's out of the way, let me actually get onto the list. First weapon on this list is the bear club. Now, I don't actually really use this weapon, very often anyways, but a friend of mine, Trickmeister, does. Statistically, I can see why it would be. It gives you 5 attack and 5 defense, but takes away 5 speed, and gives you a critical hit. If you can negate that loss of agility, then you're set and you have a pretty overpowered weapon in your hands. My biggest beef with the weapon is just the loss of agility. In insane mode, you need agility to escape a lot of situations. And if you're not quick enough to counteract the agility loss that you get with this weapon, then that 5 defense won't do anything for you, you're just gonna die. Next up on the list is a weapon that I actually used for quite a long time. It used to be my favorite, now I have another favorite that's number 1 on the list. The weapon here is the Black Morningstar. This weapon takes away 3 strength, but gives you 6 magic and 1 defense, along with a critical hit. Aside from the loss of strength, this is a really good weapon. Losing 3 strength isn't exactly life-threatening, but it can be, especially in insane mode. Doing 3 less damage every single hit can actually add up very fast. That doesn't mean I don't still recommend this weapon, though. It still gives the highest amount of magic in the entire game of any weapon, and it even has a critical hit. So if you're a person that likes to use magic a lot, then you should try this weapon out. Finally, my favorite weapon in the entire game is the Snakey Mace. Thank you, Arcade Classics. Now, my first reaction to seeing this thing's stats was, it's not really that good. It takes away 2 defense. How's that going to help me win insane mode? But upon closer inspection and an explanation from Arcade Classics himself, I learned just how good this thing is. First off, it gives 5 magic. That's pretty good. It's not the best in the game, but it comes close to it. The Snakey Mace also gives 3 agility, which is not a bad touch. That 3 agility can actually help you survive quite a lot, like trying to dive or duck around beefies, or run away from a boss like the barbarian boss. Okay, this final part kind of pertains to all weapons with critical hit, but it's especially important for this weapon. Since the Snakey Mace has a 1 in 100 chance of critting, and every time it crits, it does 4 times damage. That's a rough estimate, by the way. It's safe to assume, logically, that 1 out of every 100 times you hit something, it'll do 4 times damage. Assuming that your attack does 42 damage, which would make your critical do 168, you could also calculate that every 100 hits, you'll do 126 more damage. If you divide this extra damage out evenly among your 100 hits, that means a 1.26 increase on your damage. Let's say I make sandwiches at a restaurant. If I usually put 1 ounce of ketchup on the sandwiches I make, that would be 1 ounce of ketchup per sandwich, obviously. But for every 10 sandwiches I make, some crazy dude asks me for 20 ounces of ketchup on their sandwich. That would mean an extra 19 ounces per every 10 customers that ordered a sandwich. Divide that evenly among all my sandwiches that I've made, and I can tell my boss that I've been adding 1.9 ounces of ketchup to every burger I've made. So technically, this weapon is actually giving you 5 magic, 1.26 damage, and 3 agility. If you can negate that -2 defense, then you basically have a weapon that ups all of your stats. But since you have to negate defense to be able to use this weapon effectively, it's only recommended for people that are confident enough that they won't get hit a lot. So yeah, that's about it. You don't have to like the weapon choices I have. I mean, if you can beat the game with a fishing pole, you're freaking awesome. So I thank you for watching, and